Hey fellas, welcome to my playthrough of Ghost Story, a visual novel. Can you believe it? I couldn't edit Fatal Frame in time. It is 7 hours long, but enough about that. Let's play this game. They come to us without a word. They noticed the differences after a few months. Something had changed. Not only themselves, but also the world around them was different. The wind swept briskly beneath the door cracks, and time, days, weeks, months had become denser. Sometimes the silence in the apartment was unbearable. It was like a vacuum they lived in. But also outside, among people on lively shopping streets, they found no escape. It was as if the others looked right through them. They wanted to get noticed, to shout at them, but they could not make a sound. Interesting. This gives me Cairo vibes, if you've ever seen that movie. Both felt the same way, but they did not tell each other about it. Their feelings weren't within their reach, and they just couldn't articulate it quite right. They could only feel the strange silence. Damn, the merging. Some door had opened. Thoughts that do not go away, and cannot be thought away anymore. Something had changed forever. It came slowly, soft-footed. In the beginning there were occasional thoughts which could easily be discarded, but then they settled and showed up starting from the early morning, just after waking up. And the more one wants to banish them, the stronger they get. They always go away just for a short time, maybe while one is reading a book or looking through the window. But then, they suddenly come to the surface without prior warning. We are hunted. There is only one short rest, then it goes to the next round. They heard noises under their beds. They could see them from the corner of their eyes, but if they looked directly, there was nothing to see. They couldn't decide what was the better thing to do. Ignore them and try not to listen, or to approach them and speak to them. We are haunted. The rooms are haunted. Oh shoot, we've got audio. They began to keep watch during the night. Inside they knew that it would not help, but they had the feeling that someone had to stay awake at all times. Maybe out of fear, maybe to merely create the appearance of control. The night stayed quiet, and after some time they nearly thought it all was just their imagination. Until one night. There was a strange glow under the bed. She shouted, but no one answered. Slowly, unwillingly, she slipped to the edge of the bed and tried to look under it. Big mistake. Yup. Yup. Why don't you leave me alone? I can't make it. I can't do it. No, 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 no. What? Not human. It's not human. Stop. I lead a double life. I saw him lying underneath with a pocket flashlight in his hand. In the night while I was sleeping, with his back turned to me, his torch blinds me. In the night I am dazzling. Someone else. I saw his back. He talks to someone else. I pulled myself up again. Angsty? Who was he talking to? Breathe. Be quiet. Two heads are better than one. I took a hot bath, so hot that it was just bearable. Dove in. 3. With her head. Wanted to forget everything and just sink into. 4. The foam. 5. Time went by, and as blank came out of the water. 6. All sorrows. 7. And blank felt light and unburdened until 8. Blank. Gaze wandered to the ceiling. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So they drown themselves, I believe. Blank seemed to be farther away than normal. The paint had blank, which had spread all over the wall. Blank left the tub and wrapped a fresh towel around blank. Blank went through the apartment on wet feet. The water from blank hair trickled onto the wooden floor. In the doorframe was a notch which blank had never seen before, as well as another hole in the wall behind the desk. Blank couldn't understand how they could have overlooked this the whole time. One time they sat side by side on the couch watching TV. Both had been very quiet the whole day. They watched in silence while eating the warmed-up meal from yesterday. Suddenly, blank paused, stopped the movement, the fork still in the air, and said, pondering, still looking to the TV. Sometimes one forgets the others are real human beings, have their own thoughts and a whole world inside themselves. Sometimes one has to remember that so as not to forget it. Blank turned around to blank and looked at blank with a strange, eerie look. Blank got goosebumps, then turned back to the TV, and they both resumed eating and did not talk anymore. So there's like a lot of existential stuff going on here. Lots of self-reflection and realization. I don't know what it's leading to, but this is a ghost story after all. On that day, and it was the last, she had a bad feeling in her stomach. The feeling had set in her stomach and everywhere else, and she couldn't shake it off. Her contact lenses itched in her eyes, and her sight was blurred. She had to blink all the time. The feeling as if she might had put them in the wrong eyes, the right one in the left eye, and the left in the right. For a short moment, she had to think about where there was left and where there was right. After she remembered, she stood still for a moment and raised her dominant arm, the right one. She felt a bit stupid. She shook her head and proceeded walking at a faster pace. As long as she behaved normally, everything would be normal as well. While she continued walking, she noticed she had become lost. That was strange, because she always took this route. Despite that, the street and the area was unfamiliar. She had also started to sweat and then to shiver because of the cold. And then she was hit with full force. So it all went blank. Car accident? She couldn't see the faces of the people on the street anymore. They had become indistinct and blurred, indefinable gray lumps. She felt ill and dizzy. She had to hold on to a railing so as to not fall down. But then she flinched, because she couldn't recognize the railing anymore. She knew. It was there. She knew it. It was a dark green railing, but she couldn't see it. There were just parallel rods, but they didn't serve a purpose, were made by nobody, made just no sense. As she looked up, there were no houses anymore. The houses were not houses. She could glance through, and could only see the pieces, the atoms, but not the house as a whole anymore. The house was just there, and amorphous figures, which had been people one time but not anymore, were walking in and out. Also, the rest of the city consisted of atoms. Sometimes she stumbled upon them or bumped against them, but she didn't know what it was or had been, and she made her way forwards, struggled through the entanglement of absurd quarks. She didn't want to look at herself. She was scared that she was a purposeless being herself. An unspeakable horror crept over her. Her senses were numb, or maybe she could now see much more than before. As if everything was unveiled around her, everything was vacant, even a bit absurd. For example, the street sign, or whatever it was, she couldn't even decipher. It was so ridiculous she could only stand before it and laugh hysterically. She walked on and soon felt ill again because she thought about the sign. And the sign was there after all. And the sign was there after all humans were dead, and it would mean nothing, like herself. Even she was a sign, simply there. But maybe she wasn't and had never been, and had only disguised herself amongst all the other signs. At one time, everything went the wrong direction. But we didn't know whether we could have changed something. Maybe there had been places we shouldn't have been to. People we shouldn't have talked to. Thoughts we shouldn't have thought. But it was too late, for a long time now, and the events had grown their own consciousness and didn't want to return to their old places. The end. It is never the end. Credits! Seems like that's the end. Inspired by my own existential angst. Video installation by Joan Jones for the 56th Biennale in Venice. They come to us without a word, and the quote, "We are haunted, the rooms are haunted." The book, The Dust of This Planet, Horror of Philosophy, Volume 1 by Eugene Thacker, and the quote, "The thought is not human." No, she is not. Credits. Game made with Twine, pictures by me. Good job. Main sound theme by Kevin MacLeod. Everybody knows that guy. For questions, feedback, etc., feel free to write me, lola@daydreamer.com. Thank you very much for this awesome little story. There's definitely a lot of existential angst. I agree with you there. You think so much about that it eventually means nothing. You could think something so thoroughly that by the end of it, you've broken it down to so many chunks, so many bits and pieces, that it literally means nothing. You can always go deeper, but I guess that's the idea, to go as deep as you can go. They liken the absence of purpose and life to essentially a street sign. There's certainly a lot to think about, right? You understand what this story's about. And if you don't, there really isn't much to it. It basically means nothing. In a way, whatever you took from the story is exactly what you were meant to take from the story, if that makes sense. The feelings that were evoked by whatever you were thinking about or whatever the story made you think. That is pretty much exactly the point. Any writing of, how they put it, existential angst. How can I say this? In writing about the struggle to find purpose or reason in existence is often enough to evoke the emotions that prove that you do in fact exist. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm working on Fatal Frame. Hopefully that'll be out on Thursday or Friday, I don't know, but I ran out of time. The full video, unedited, is fucking 8 hours long. So I gotta try and cut that down, cut that down, cut that down to a reasonable chunk. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.